Well, welcome to this episode of Conversations. I'm so glad that you've decided to join and watch along today. Today, I'm having a conversation with Jeremy. Jeremy Choo is a 19-year-old young person who has had this burden, I suppose, for the past 6 months or so to plant a church. He's been planning, he's been putting documents together, he's been meeting with people, he's been meeting with a conference with his church team to plant this church, and he's got a date set to go live and start launching their corporate worship services. And then COVID-19 happened. Then every plan he had made had to stop. And so today we're going to have a chat with him about how he's adjusted, how the plans have had to be a bit malleable, how his team has adjusted, and what he sees as the plan moving forward and how he's seen God lead in this situation. So thanks again for joining us. And now let's have a listen to this conversation with Jeremy Choo. Well, welcome to this chat, this episode of Conversations. I'm here with Jeremy. Jeremy is
Hey.
I've had a little bit to do with, I reckon over the last 5 years, I reckon our paths crossed, but probably more so over the last two.
Probably in Pathfinders was the first time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, Jeremy, tell everyone a little bit about yourself, because as we said, we've known each other for about 5 or so years, but people watching may not know who you are. So who are you? What are you about?
Yeah, I'm Jeremy. I've been around in like the Adventist church for ages, since I was born. Went to NCC, so you might have seen me around in school, and then after that I decided to take a gap year, and then I've been working at Gilson Mernda as an assistant chaplain there with Trent Martin. And then at the moment I'm studying theology online as well. So that's a bit of a rundown of where my life has been. Yeah.
Cool. So studying online, because pretty much all tertiary education now is online, but you were doing it beforehand.
Yeah, like everyone's unis have shut, and for me it's just like stayed the same way. So it's like everyone's struggling with doing it online, and I'm like, hey, I've been doing this for a while anyway. So
I was prepared for this moment.
Sorry?
Like, I was prepared for this moment.
Yeah, exactly. I knew it was coming. I knew this virus was coming.
So NCC, so at Nunawading Christian College, meaning you're Melbourne-based, you're working at Gilson. You said you've been in the Adventist church for a little while, but let's be honest, a little while is your whole life.
Yeah, all my whole life.
You're like one of those families that is perpetually Adventist.
Mm-hmm.
Your parents are both church people. Your grandparents on both sides are church people.
Not really on my mum's side. Well, my mum's dad was Catholic, but on my dad's side, my grandpa there was a pastor, and his father was a pastor as well. So
right, so it's like generational, except it skipped your dad's generation.
Skipped my dad, and then came to me.
Yeah, there you go. Just for a little bit more of an idea, the reason that I've asked you on today is because you're in the very kind of formative but well-formed stages of bringing together a church plant. Now, church planting is something that in Adventist history, our whole church is essentially about. When I was at college, we had a class where we were told that they had a guy come in to talk to them about church planting who wasn't an Adventist, but used Adventist history to show how Adventists were all about church planting. So back in the turn of the 20th century, so 1900, 1910, thereabouts, there were church pastors who had their ordination credentials revoked because they hadn't continued to plant churches. And there were church pastors who were being progressed for ordination consideration, but had that denied because they hadn't yet planted a church. So here we are in 2020, an established church now that's over 160, 170 almost years old. What are we? Almost 160 years old. 1863, which means 157. Maths is good.
Wow, you're solid.
Thanks. Why is church planting something that you're looking at? What's brought you to this point?
This was something that didn't actually start in 2020. This has kind of been brewing for a couple of years now, and this whole desire came in probably 2016 actually. Um, I don't know. Some of you might know about Revive, which was a high school thing that we started in NTC with me and a couple of mates, and that was just a Friday night group we where we worshipped. We had small group discussion, and yeah, it grew a lot, to the point where there was like some 50 people in a night, and sometimes at Meg Vibes there was like almost 100 people as well. So yeah, in that time, I kind of said this prayer, and um, I didn't really know where it would take me, but I was reading my journal like a couple of weeks ago, and I've still got that written out, like that prayer request written out on a piece of paper. And it said, God, I want this place to become a church one day. These people, I want them to be part of a church one day. And I kind of gave up hope on that a couple of years down the track till end of last year in about October, when I was thinking about, I was at a conference and I was like, I want to see it. I want to see a church. I want to be part of leading a church that is vibrant and just on fire for God. So I was praying about it, and God opened so many doors. And then to this point, He's led us to the point where we're ready to go. We've got our whole team together, but now we're just in a waiting stage, obviously, because of the whole coronavirus, before we can like launch worship service. But in saying that, we've already tried to implement things that surround church as well. Like we've got some online groups getting started too. And yeah, we're just trying to keep each other accountable during this time and try and have church now, because yeah, church obviously it's not just a worship service.
Cool. So just draw for me the bridge a little bit clearer from Revive to
Oh
church
yeah,
plant.
sorry, yeah, I kind of jumped big time.
Well,
So the
the thing
leaders
is,
of
you know that
Revive,
I know the story, but
yeah,
people
yeah,
might
yeah, I keep forgetting. Yeah. So the leaders of Revive, yeah, they kind of finished and graduated, and then yeah, those who involved, a lot of them went to uni and all that, and then we decided to do this thing called Avenue, which was something that started last year as a Monday night ministry to uni age people. So yeah, that carried on, and then towards the end of last year as well, which was around the same time that this vision was put on my heart, we had this thing called Vision Night, where it was a collaboration between Revive and Avenue together. And then that kind of gave insight as to what the future could look like, and gave us more clarity and vision as to the future of both Avenue and Revive. So I see the two as very heavily integrated, and Avenue exists today because of Revive. And yeah, like there's lots of connections and relationships between the two there. Yeah.
All right. So with the idea of kind of church planting with the Avenue, the connections with Revive. So you started Revive when you were at high school.
hmm
That kind of your involvement there ended when you finished up at high school. Just tell everyone, how old are you?
I'm 19. Yeah.
You have to think about that.
I forget my age sometimes.
So you're 19. You've started a Friday night group when you were 16 or thereabouts.
15.
That started getting around 100 people for your big events
For the big events, yeah.
and 50 people regularly weekly.
50 was on like a good night, but yeah.
Monday nights, as a now 18, 19-year-old,
Yeah.
you're getting what numbers are you getting there?
Well, we haven't done that in a while. It started off with like 30, but then like it fluctuated a little bit. So yeah.
So we've got to say, let's be a bit creative here. So let's say consistently on a Revive, let's say 30 people, consistently on an Avenue night, 20 people. But obviously that expands and grows. Now you haven't been doing Monday nights for the last little while, but that's because you've been planning for a church launch.
Mm.
Um, so you said you've got plans in place, you've got groups in place, you've got all this sort of stuff happening.
Yeah.
How has this situation of coronavirus really impacted perhaps the plans, or even and you personally, with kind of the passion and dream that you have?
Yeah. Um, Not gonna lie, I didn't think it would get this bad. But yeah, we were not expecting this at all. We did not plan for this at all. You can't predict these kind of things. So we were just we were just planning. We were planning our launch date in um, late June. Um, but yeah, then we realized, hey, this is probably not possible. This looks like it's going on for a little bit longer. Um, yeah, kind of killed the momentum a little bit of like we don't know when it's going to happen. But yeah, just trying to stay positive through it all, and try to have church now. Try to grasp the essence of what church is, and church can exist without a building, without a weekly gathering on a weekend. Um, so yeah, we're just trying to keep each other accountable through that and just do what we can. We don't have much. It's just some online platforms. That's all we have. But it's like God's just like, oh, what's in your hand? And what was in Moses' hand was just a staff, and God used that. And I guess what's in our hand is just like some online platforms
Yeah.
like Zoom. So just trying to give that over to God and allow Him to use that. And for me personally, like I'm just trying to stay positive through it, and I don't want to be complaining about it all the time and being like, oh, this sucks and I'm so lonely being at home with myself. But I'm just trying to use this as an opportunity to grow myself, because it's kind of just like I think God's using this time to work on me as a leader and make sure that I'm in a good space with Him, because um, that's going to become really important. Like I can't expect to lead other people in a relationship with Jesus if I don't have one with Him myself. That's really
Yeah.
solid. So yeah, I'm just doing that, reading a lot, watching some YouTube stuff that is relevant to that, and yeah, just trying to grow myself, trying to get closer with God. So that's become really important to me, and I'm just trying to use this time to do that.
Now, I don't want to call you Jesus, but I'm going to use this as an analogy. It's kind of like before Jesus started his ministry, he was in his 40 days in the wilderness kind of
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
So would you consider this potentially like a wilderness experience where you're just getting yourself right with God?
Yeah, it's not wilderness at all. I'm in the house, but I guess you could draw some parallels with that. And I also kind of see it as an upper room kind of experience as well. Like the disciples, they were all waiting together in the upper room,
Yeah.
and the Holy Spirit fell on them, and then they went out and yeah, just preached the gospel to the world. So I kind of see it as that as well. Just like as a team, we're waiting while we're not together. Like there's an upper room kind of vibe where
Yeah.
we're just trying to wait on the Holy Spirit to fall, and then when the time is right, we'll go out and do what we can do. But right now, it's about just sitting and just dwelling in God's presence and just being with Him. And I think that's the most important thing, and that's what us humans are created to do. Ultimately, is just to be with Jesus and just to enjoy Him and commune with Him. So
Cool.
I'm just trying to relax in that a bit. Yeah.
Now, I just want to draw in on your analogy about what's in your hand. You said you've got online platforms. Moses had a staff, you've got online platforms. Now, that's really key for this church plant option,
Mm.
because the church plant that we're talking about is probably unique in that a lot of church plants come out of a mother church. There's, the single church where they've commissioned this group of people to plant this church over here. In this case, it's not a mother church, but it's kind of this burden that's been on your heart that other people have kind of bought into, for lack of a better term. And so
Yeah.
there's a range of people from a range of churches.
Mm.
But do you just want to explain a little bit about who these people are and why the online platforms is actually a crucial aspect, not just of what your church planning looks like in the planning stages at the moment, but also moving forward, why online platforms play such a critical role there as well?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Um, yeah, so the people who are involved, they come from like all different places. Mainly in the east. There's some from the north as well, but these are just like friends that I've developed and friends that I've led with in the past. Friends that I just hang out with as well. Friends I play music with, that kind of thing. So yeah, and I just see a lot in them as well. Like they're also talented in different aspects, and I just wanna use that to for God's work. And I think so. I don't want to use that. Like I think God wants to use that, and He there's so many different creative so much creative potential in those people, so much passion in them as well. So I'm just like working with them, and our whole mission statement is to unleash God-given potential. So we're just trying to see what it is in people that they're gifted in and help to unleash that for God's work. So yeah, they're just people maybe from like Nunawading that I went to school with, or people that I've just met along the way and through church events and stuff like that. But I just see God's hand leading the whole time with bringing me to meet different people, such as you, and then like you've been awesome in being involved in it and helping, and um, I think he's just put different people along the path just to help this vision come to fruition. So yeah, and then when it comes to online platforms, at the moment this is really important because the online Zoom meetings and all that. But I think in this day and age we need to start thinking more digitally. Start thinking that we need to use like online platforms to reach the world. When the gospel goes to all the world, I think online platforms are going to be a big crucial part in that. So we need to be innovative in the way that we minister and we do church, because we do live in a digital age now. And I've kept telling our communications team, like, your focus is to fulfill the Great Commission in a digital age. Like, see what you can do through online platforms to reach the world.
Yeah.
So that's why this is really important. We've been spending a lot of work on the website. You can check that out, avenuemission.com if you want. Josh can maybe put the link up there. And then we've been spending a lot of time on that, and then we've also been spending time on getting our whole software system together with Planning Center and our Google software as well. So all these different digital mediums, and we want to maximize what we can do through that later on down the track to just reach the world through online means.
So setting up these kind of platforms and these processes to begin with, hopefully will then set you up for success, even greater success in the future as far as growing a community for God.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the beauty of a church plan, is that you can kind of set that culture from the start. You can set that we're going to be a church that utilizes online means, and you can set that from the start, and then really grow that and really develop that because you set the culture originally.
So I'm not sure whether I'm going to be speaking with both Caleb Isley of Humans of Adventism and then Justin Koo, who was that Christian blogger. I'm not sure whether they're going to be before or after this episode, but they'll be at some stage. The reason I want to chat to those guys is because they are like creative individuals.
Yeah.
They're digital natives. Both of them are under the age of 30 at this point in time. And so the idea of online platforms and digital media and content creation tends to come more naturally to people like them than perhaps some in what we would call the established church. So, the church that you grew up in, which is the church that one of the churches that I'm pastoring at Mazdak, Melbourne Asian Church, we've been there for 30 years. There's a range of people there, from newborns right through to 90 plus year olds. But the online presence of established churches, largely speaking, isn't great. you're making an active effort to make sure that the Avenue's online presence is significantly better than perhaps some of the established churches. Um, do you want to just go into a little bit of how that comes more naturally for you and the team that you've got? Because I know that in established churches, we often have, the elders are all, generally speaking, over 60.
Yeah.
The church board is generally an average age of somewhere over 50. How does that kind of affect, or does it affect what you're planning to do with the Avenue?
I think it does. Like most of the people who are involved in the Avenue are pretty young, like mostly sub 25. So
Are you saying that over 25 is old?
I'm not saying that at all, Josh. I did not reference that at all. You're putting words in my mouth.
I'm reading into what you're saying.
Yeah, but most of them are sub 25. So obviously the way they think is through an Instagram lens or through a Facebook. No, sorry, not Facebook. Facebook's like old now. Yeah, through like an Instagram lens. So obviously they can think the way that they can think digitally, obviously. And personally, myself, like I'm not that great with things like that. Like when it comes to Instagram, like I'm really bad with captions and all that. I'm not that experienced with that kind of thing, but there's people in the team who are really good with that, and they're in the communications team, and good with design, and just good with that kind of stuff. So just working with them, and they understand things. I've just kind of given it to them and say, here, you do that space for you to look after. You don't have to come back to me with like what exactly you're doing. We'll just communicate things through to you, and you just get that out, and you just do your own thing. Obviously still within the vision of the church, but just want to give them the keys and just don't restrict them, because if we're going to unleash God-given potential, we can't restrict them. We have to unleash unrestrained God-given potential.
So you've got a large proportion sub 25. So who would be what would be the roughly, probably don't know everyone's ages, but what would be roughly the oldest and the youngest person you have on this church plant team?
Okay, so youngest probably who actually has like a role, I would say about 17. 16, 17. And then the oldest, I'm not sure do you know how old Bernie is?
I could guess.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
I don't want him to watch this later and be like, oh. But yeah, probably like 70s. So
he's not that old. I've got your back here, Bernie.
He's not that old? Okay.
Somewhere near that 60 to 65, I reckon.
Okay. All right. We're going to block him from viewing this.
You got somewhere between that 60, 65 and down to like 16-ish. The average age, I would be guessing, and because I know the team that you're working with, the average age would be somewhere around that 19 to 22 year mark.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Why do you have, and it's not that we're saying everything needs to be young, because you certainly do have older people on the team. Why is there such an importance for you to have a team that is deliberately planning younger? And I'm framing that question the way I'm framing it because I want you to speak a little bit about the point of difference for the Avenue Church, in that you're really focusing on ministry to specific demographics. And I think the focus on younger leaders also will help you reach the demographics that you're wanting to reach. So I just want to speak through some of the visionary plans you have for who you're wanting to reach, because you're not planning to reach all people, because that's impossible for any church. You have a specific mandate. What is that? I asked that as soon as you get a glass of water. Perfect timing.
Perfect. So I personally have a big passion and a big belief in what young people can do. we can set a culture of having a younger generation of God-driven influences, and seeing them, just flourish. And I think the Adventist Church was started by a lot of young people as well. So we're kind of getting back to that and we want to see like this movement just go all around the world. But I think it comes through the young people, because they have a way of being relevant to the people that they're reaching out to. And our target demographic is number one, high school students, and number two, like uni age people as well. So obviously totally open to like older people as well, totally open to like people with families and others who aren't within that age bracket. And I don't believe in just a single generational church. I believe in a multi-generational church. So that's why we've got people like you, Josh, who's really old, and
you said it this time.
And other people like Bernie who are on board as well, because they're acting as mentors for the younger people. So we've kind of got this system where we've got younger leaders who are between, say, 18 and 25, who are leading different departments, and then we've got a mentor, like an adult overseer, who's overseeing one or two of the different departments and just making sure they're not being too radical, I suppose, and just giving some guidance on how to do things, because they've walked it before. But obviously we want to really unleash what young people can do, and I think when you utilize young people to reach young people, that's super effective.
It's interesting because from a discipleship perspective, there's no destination when it comes to discipleship. You are a disciple always, and you are discipling as a disciple. So I think the beauty of having that generational mentoring process is that, we're assuming that a 16-year-old can receive some mentoring from like a 22-year-old. But the 22-year-old, whilst discipling and mentoring the 16-year-old, might be getting discipleship and mentoring from a 30-year-old. And the 30-year-old likewise, both ways again. And statistically speaking, from a church perspective, I don't know whether you're aware of this, you're actually only effective really to reach those 10 years either side of your own age. So you as a 19-year-old would be effective to reach down to the 9-year-old, and effective to reach up to the 29-year-old. So outside of that, you would need more and more people. So do you have any closing thoughts?
Not really. Just like, if you want more information, just check out the website, or just hit me up on Facebook or something. But that's where we're at the moment with Avenue Church. We've got these ideas, these visions, but it's all in God's time, and we're just trying to trust Him. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's all God through this. He led us to this point, and He's going to be the one who's going to keep us going, and making this thing effective, and helping us achieve this vision that's far greater than ourselves. Because I guess that's one thing I've learned about vision, is that if the vision has to be enough to scare you, otherwise it's not big enough. And it is pretty petrifying, it is pretty scary, and there are some nights where like I just can't sleep because I just keep thinking about it. But that means that I need to submit to God. It means that I need to lean into Him and trust Him to do what He can do. And even though sometimes you feel unqualified, and I feel unqualified a lot, I know God works through that. And I don't want to say the cliche statement, God qualifies the called, but He does. And I know He's going to make this vision come to pass in His timing, but sometimes it's important to wait on Him, which is what this time is about, I think.
Well, that was a rich conversation. Thanks so much, Jeremy. I'm so glad that you've been willing to have that conversation with me and share it with others as well. It's encouraging when we get to hear from other people who are innovating and changing things up in this time. And so if you would like to get in touch with Jeremy, as he mentioned during that chat, we've got the website below for you. Feel free to go check them out. They won't be launching anytime soon, but they will be meeting online. They will be gathering online. And so when they can physically get together, I can imagine that's going to be a celebration, a launch celebration like no other, much like many of our churches when they finally get to meet together again. That week at church is going to be massive. Wait for it. Watch this space and let's see how God moves in this next season of life. Until next time, keep the conversations going, keep connecting with one another, and let's make sure that we use this time to connect more with God.